aware of the turmoil and violent protests unleashed in some of our states. Notably, among the protesters were young Nigerians who desired a better and more progressive country where their dreams, hope, and personal aspiration would be fulfilled. I am especially pained by the loss of lives in Borno, Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna, and other states, the destruction of facilities in some states, and the wanton looting of supermarkets and shops, contrary to the promise of protest organizers that the protest will be peaceful across the country. The destruction of properties set us back as a nation, as scarce resources will be again used to restore them. I commiserate with the families and relations of those who have died in the protest. We must stop further bloodshed, violence, and destruction. As the president of this country, I must ensure public order in line with the constitutional oath to protect the lives and property of every citizen. Our government will not stand idly by and allow a few with a clear political agenda to tear this nation apart. Under the circumstances, I hereby enjoin protesters and the organizers to suspend any further protest and create room for dialogue, which I have always acceded to at the slightest opportunity. Nigeria requires all hands on deck and need us all, regardless of age, party, tribe, religion, or other divides, to work together, reshaping our destiny as a nation. For those who have taken undue advantage of this situation to threaten any section of this country, be warned. The law will catch up with you. There is no place for ethnic bigotry or such threats in the Nigeria we seek to build. Our democracy progresses when the constitutional rights of every Nigerian are respected and protected. Our law enforcement agencies should continue to ensure full protection of life and properties of innocent citizens in a responsible manner. My vision for our country is one of a just and prosperous nation where each person may enjoy the peace, freedom, and meaningful livelihood that only democratic good governance can provide. One that is open, transparent, and accountable to the Nigerian people. For decades, our economy has remained anemic and taken a dip because of many misalignments that have stunted our growth. Just over a year ago, our dear country, Nigeria, reached a point where we couldn't afford to continue the use of temporary solutions to solve long-term problems for the sake of now and our unborn generations. I therefore took the painful yet necessary decision to remove fuel subsidy and abolish multiple foreign exchange system, which had constituted a noose around the economic jugular of our nation and impede our economic development and progress. These actions block the greedy and the profit that smugglers and rent seekers made. They also block the undue subsidy we had extended to our neighboring countries to the detriment of our people, rendering our economy prostrate. These decisions are made were necessary if we must reverse the decades of economic mismanagement that didn't serve us well. Yes, I agree, the buck stops on my table, but I can assure you that I am focused fully on delivering the governance to the people, good governance for that matter. In the past 14 months, our government has made significant strides in rebuilding the foundation of our economy to carry us into a future of plenty and abundance. On the physical side, aggregate government revenue has more than doubled, hitting over 9.1 trillion naira in the first half of 2024, compared to the first half of 2023, due to our efforts at blocking leakages, introducing automation, and mobilizing funds creatively without additional burden on the people. Productivity is gradually increasing in the non-oil sector, reaching new levels and taking advantage of the opportunities in our current economic ambience. My dear brothers and sisters, we have come this far, coming from a place where our country spent 97% of all our revenue on debt service. We have been able to reduce that to 68% in the last 13 months. We have also cleared legitimate outstanding foreign exchange obligations of about 5 billion without any adverse impact on our programs. This has given us more financial freedom and room to spend more money on you, our citizens, to fund essential social services like education and health care. It has also led to our state and local government receiving highest allocation ever in our country's history from the Federation account. We have also embarked on major infrastructure projects across the country. We are working to complete inherited projects critical to our economic prosperity, including roads, bridges, railways, power, and oil and gas development. Notably, the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and Sokoto-Badagry Highway projects will open up 16 connecting states, creating thousands of jobs and boosting economic output through trade, tourism, and cultural integration. Our once declining oil and gas industry is experiencing a resurgence on the back of the reforms I announced in May 2024 to address the gaps in the Petroleum Industry Act. Last month, we increased our oil production to 1.61 million barrels per day, and our gas assets are receiving the attention they deserve. Investors are coming back, and we have already seen 2 foreign direct investments signed over $500 million since then. Fellow Nigerians, we are a country blessed with both oil and gas resources, but we met a country that had been dependent solely on oil-based petrol, neglecting its gas resources to power the economy. We were also using our hard-earned foreign exchange to pay for and subsidize the use. To address this, we immediately launched our compressed natural gas initiative, CNG, to power our transportation economy and bring us down. This will save over 2 trillion naira a month being used to import PMS and AGO and free up our resources for more investment in healthcare and education. To this end, we'll be distributing 1 million kits of extremely low or no cost to commercial vehicles that transport people and goods and who currently consume 80% of imported PMS and AGO. We have started the distribution of conversion kits and setting up of conversion centers across the country in conjunction with the private sector. We believe that this CNG initiative will reduce transportation costs by approximately 60% and help to curb inflation. Our administration has shown its commitment to the youth by setting up the student loan scheme. To date, 45.6 billion has already been processed for payment to students and their respective institutions. I encourage more of our vibrant youth population to take advantage of this opportunity. We established the Consumer Credit Corporation with over 200 billion to help Nigeria to acquire essential products without the need for immediate cash payment, making life easier for millions of households. This will consequently reduce corruption and eliminate cash and opaque transactions. This week, I ordered the release of an additional 50 billion naira, each for NEL Fund, the student loan, and credit corporation for the proceeds of crime recovered by the EFCC. Additionally, we have secured $620 million under the Digital and Creative Enterprises, IDICE, a program to empower our young people, creating millions of IT and technical jobs that will make them globally competitive. This program, including the 3 million technical talent scheme, unfortunately, one of digital centers was vandalized during the protests in Kano. What a shame. In addition, we have introduced the Skill Up Artisans Program, SUPA, the Nigerian Youth Academy, NIA, and the National Youth Talent Export Program, NATIP. Also, more than 570 billion has been released to the 36 states to expand livelihood support to their citizens, while 600,000 nano businesses have benefited from our nano grants. An additional 400,000 more nano businesses are expected to benefit. Furthermore, 75,000 beneficiaries have processed to receive our 1 million micro and small business single-digit interest loans starting this month. We have also built 10 MSME hubs within the past year, created 240,000 jobs through them, and 5 more hubs are in progress, which will be ready by October this year. Payment of 1 billion each also have been made to large manufacturers under our single-digit loan to boost manufacturing output and stimulate growth. I signed the national minimum wage into law last week, and the lowest earning worker will now earn at least 70,000 naira a month. 6 months ago in Kasana, Abuja, I inaugurated the first phase of our ambitious housing initiative, the Renew Hope City and Estate. This project is the first of 6 we have planned across the nation's geopolitical zones. Each of these cities will include a minimum of 1,000 housing units, Kasana itself set to deliver 3,212 units. In addition to this city project, we are also launching the Renew Hope Estate in every state, each comprising 500 housing units. Our goal is to complete a total of 100,000 housing units over the next 3 years. This initiative is not only about providing homes, but also about creating thousands of jobs across the nation, as well as stimulating economic growth. We are providing incentives to farmers to increase food production at affordable prices. I have directed that tariffs and other import duties should be removed on rice, wheat, maize, sorghum, and drugs, and other pharmaceutical medical supplies for the next 6 months, in the first instance, to help drive down the prices. I have been meeting with our governors and key ministers to accelerate food production. We've distributed fertilizers. Our target is to cultivate more than 10 million hectares of land to grow what we eat. The federal government will provide all necessary incentives for this initiative, whilst the state provide the land, which will put millions of our people to work and further increase food production. In the past few months, we have also ordered mechanized farming equipment, such as tractors and planters, worth billions of naira from the United States, Belarus, and Brazil. I can confirm to you that the equipment is on the way. My dear Nigerians, especially our youths, I have heard you loud and clear. I understand the pain and the frustration that drive this protest, and I want to assure you that our government is committed to listening and addressing the concerns of our citizens. But we must not let violence and destruction tear our nation apart. We must work together to build a brighter future where every Nigerian can live with dignity and prosperity. The task before us is a collective one, and I am leading the charge as your president. A lot of work has gone into stabilizing our economy, and I must stay focused on ensuring that the benefits reached every single Nigerian as we promised. My administration is working very hard to improve and expand our national infrastructure and create more opportunities for our young people. Let nobody misinform and miseducate you about your country or tell you that your government does not care about you. Although there have been many dashed hopes in the past, we are in a new era of renewed hope. We are working hard, and the result will soon be visible and concrete for everyone to see, feel, and enjoy. Let us work together to build a brighter future for ourselves and for generations to come. Let's choose hope over fear, unity over division, and progress over stagnation. The economy is recovering. Please, don't shut out this oxygen. Now that we have been enjoying democratic governance for 25 years, do not let the extremists of enemies of democracy use you to promote an unconstitutional agenda that will set us back on our democratic journey. Forward ever backward never. In conclusion, security operatives should continue to maintain peace, law, and order in our country, following the necessary Convention on Human Rights, to which Nigeria is a signatory. The safety and security of all Nigerians are paramount. Thank God and thank you for your attention. And may God continue to bless our great nation. Thank you very much.
The heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insights that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, Souq News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions. The heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insights that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more.
Such criminality, the police have arrested a total of 681 individuals who committed various criminal offenses.
The force called on Amnesty International to verify before going ahead to make unsubstantiated reports. In the wake of the August...
provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, analysis analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy.
The award ceremony put together by Association of Small Business Owners in Nigeria, ASFON, and legacy document through the Ministry of Commerce for printed trade and investment through participation of the financial sector, entrepreneurs, representatives of Lagos and
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you
in the SME ecosystem. The resort for the event switched from regular business mode as they graced the red carpet with deeds and glamour.
Electric powered cars. We have seen electric powered planes.
Are the builders of the GDP. And that is what the SME in Nigeria are yearning for. In order to be able to achieve this, we must have these organizations that will put those small businesses together. And that's one of the duties of ASBOT, and for which Ogosima is overseeing. We project, we protect, and present the interest of the small-scale businesses in order to build up the economy.
Because we believe that the small and medium-scale enterprise form the engine of any country's economy. And we believe that in supporting that segment of the Nigerian economy, we're also helping to boost the Nigerian economy. So that's why we're supporting us.
You have quite a number. Lagos State Government is our sure partner. They assist with all manner of incentive policies like the Employment Trust Fund, from where more than 18,000 of our members have benefited. They've disbursed so much, excess of 12 billion, if I'm not mistaken. So you see that they're supporting us. They organize even trade fair for free for members to showcase what they have, and then have wide access to market, fully funded by government. It's so many.
And because we come together, it's easier to be able to talk to government officials, people in leadership positions who can help. And so I see them growing, and I can see them doing even better in future.
Basically, for us at LSCTF, collaboration has always been what we enjoy doing, because if we do not collaborate, we will not be able to achieve our mandates, and we need the collaboration of so many other players in the ecosystem.
Moving to the main event.
Once again, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I want to officially welcome you to the 4th Nigerian National SME Business Awards 2024. This is the 4th edition, which simply means that 4 years ago, this vision was bettered. And here we are today celebrating and, of course, showcasing those people who can be regarded as SME enablers in our country, Nigeria. Look at your neighbor by your right and by your left. Say, my neighbor, I welcome you here today.
Government has some national budget stand to benefit significantly by providing SMEs with right business environment to succeed.
This particular organization underscores also the immense commitment of the Army government staff around the
environment to thrive, giving them the environment to collaborate, to partner as well.
For us at Souq News, these that come at no more auspicious time than this, especially when a lot of people start to contemplate can reporting business news thrive in Nigeria, given that people are giving to social news and politics. Now, this recognition is giving us a lot of hope and assurance that collaborating with small business owners in Nigeria, we can actually do well in reaching out and telling the world the good about what Nigerian business is, the resilience, the
honored, elated to receive this prestigious award. For us at Leadway, our primary focus is always on supporting the SMEs in terms of their financials and as well as risk mitigation mechanisms. So for us, it is a pleasure, and we will always promise to provide our support to grow the industry as a whole.
The award essentially means that we're doing something right, and that affirms all the hard work that has gone into the impact space that we're working in. The purpose of LSCTF is to essentially create jobs and wealth for the residents in Lagos State. So to be recognized for doing so means that we can actually make an impact, and it's also very encouraging for us such that we would do more.
to support SMEs across Nigeria?
I think it's a celebration of the hard work that a lot of NMSMEs, and I say NMSMEs because a lot of times we focus on SMEs, but the bulk of the entrepreneurs in Nigeria operate at the nano and micro level. So I think that programs like this celebrate their tenacity, celebrate their resilience, and is a call to do more and a call to stay on, and continue to push against all odds.
So for us, it means a lot. It's actually calls for more. Too much is given, much is expected. Global Bank, being an industry leader in MSME banking, can only but continue to provide that leadership, and cutting-edge innovation that can only support and enable MSMEs beyond the normal access to finance, access to market, things around capacity building, payment.
Blessing AG, Souq News.
In the heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more. Souq News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions. We've got just what you need right here at Ferry Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Ovia, one of the most influential and successful businessmen in Nigeria, who has made a mark in the financial system. He is the founder and chairman of Zenith Bank, one of Africa's largest and most profitable banks. He has been described by Forbes Africa as the godfather of banking in Nigeria.
My name is Jim Ovia. I'm chairman of Zenith Bank, and I thank you all for listening to me.
This illustrious son of Africa was one of the financial leaders who revolutionized the banking sector in Nigeria. Let's take a close look into the life, background, career, and achievements of this enigma, Jim Ovia. Jim Ovia was born on November 4, 1951 in Agbo, Delta State, Nigeria, to a large family as the second son of Chief Obi Olihe of Agbobi in Delta State. Being one from a humble background, Jim attended local schools as he had lost his father at the tender age of 4. His widowed mother, together with his older brother, saw him through school. He had secondary education at Ika Grammar School in Agbo. Due to his interest in business and technology, he proceeded to the United States to study business administration at Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, USA, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in 1977. He furthered to University of Louisiana, Monroe, Louisiana, and bagged a master's degree in business administration in 1979. Jim Ovia is also an alumnus of the prestigious Harvard Business School. Jim Ovia worked briefly as a clerk in Union Bank in 1973 before proceeding for tertiary studies. Upon acquiring immense business knowledge from international institutions, he returned to Nigeria, his home country, and began a career in banking. He continued at this for years, working for banks such as Lion Bank, Merchant Bank of Africa, and International Merchant Bank. After many years in the banking industry, in 1990, Jim came together with some colleagues to found one of Africa's largest and most profitable bank, Zenith Bank. The bank was established with a vision to provide excellent customer service, innovative and technology-driven banking. Zenith Bank flourished as it drew customers who sought excellence in financial services. What started with an asset of $4 million and about 50 staff has grown into over $24 billion in assets and shareholders' funds of more than $3 billion as of June 2022. Zenith Bank is listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange and London Stock Exchange. Jim Ovia served as Zenith Bank's Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director from 1990 to 2010, and then Chairman from 2010 to 2014. After a brief break, he returned as Chairman of the bank in 2016 and remains so till date. Under his leadership, Zenith Bank has grown to become one of the leading banks in Nigeria and Africa, standing tall among some of Nigeria's first-generation banks of repute, a feat rare for second-generation banks established in a time of tension between military and civilian regimes and economic instability.
We will build our own roads to our branches. If we're building branches in some cities, towns where the roads are not good enough. We have also bought power plants, generating sets to power electricity into our building. When we do all this, we also even had dug borehole to supply water to the building. When we do all this, what I personally call it is BYOI, bring your own infrastructure or build your own infrastructure.
Jim Ovia served as Zenith Bank's Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director from 1990 to 2010, and then Chairman from 2010 to 2014. After a brief break, he returned as Chairman of the bank in 2016 and remains so till date. Under his leadership, Zenith Bank has grown to become one of the leading banks in Nigeria and Africa, standing tall among some of Nigeria's first-generation banks of repute, a feat rare for second-generation banks established in a time of tension between military and civilian regimes and economic instability.
So if you were to make a bank transfer anywhere in Nigeria now, it will take you a matter of seconds for the money to leave your account and be credited to whoever you're sending with. It wasn't always like that. And even right now, it's still not like that in many countries in the world. Some of the biggest economies, like the US for instance, bank transfers might take like a day. You know, what we've been used to in Nigeria is not what obtains in many parts of the world. And this is kind of the tech-driven innovation that Jim Ovia and Zenith Bank brought to the banking industry. ATMs used to be something that were not commonplace. And by the time the Zenith Bank ATMs flooded the country, it was almost like, where has this been all our lives? And this is coming from an era that you have to queue in the bank and collect your cash, and now you can use your ATM on the go. These days, it's internet banking, it's USSD banking. This tech-driven innovation is what is making the difference and what is ensuring that Jim Ovia's legacy in banking is never going to be erased.
Zenith Bank has diversified its services to include insurance, pensions, stockbroking, and investment banking. The bank has won awards and recognition for its performance, governance, innovation, and social responsibility, inspired by its chairman's belief in giving back to community.
Really, it's my special pleasure, my honor indeed, for this opportunity offered by AAI to be awarded in the category of Business Leadership Award for 2017.
As an entrepreneur, Jim Ovia has made investments in sectors other than banking. They include oil and gas, telecommunication, real estate, power generation, media, and most recently, education. He is the founder and chancellor, James Hope University, Lekki, Lagos State, which has been approved by the National Universities Commission, NUC, to offer postgraduate degrees in business courses. Jim Ovia is a man who believes in giving back to society. He has engaged in philanthropic works through his foundations, Mankind United to support total education, MUSTE, and Youth Empowerment, ICT Foundation. These foundations award scholarships to indigenous students and promote information and communication technology in Nigeria through various initiatives. Ovia has made donations towards courses and institutions. They include Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, NIPC, Nigerian Internet Group, NIG, Lagos State University, and National Information Technology Advisory Council, just to mention a few. In recognition of his contributions, Jim Ovia is a recipient of many honors and awards. In 2012, the University of Benin awarded him an honorary doctorate degree. Former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2022 conferred him with the national honor of the Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, CFR. Also in 2022, Jim Ovia was conferred with the National Productivity Order of Merit, NPOM award, by the federal government of Nigeria. Jim Ovia is a proud member of the World Economic Forum, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He is also a member of several boards and councils.
We can't afford to lose depositors' money. We can't afford to lose money that belongs to stakeholders. So you must structure your industry in such a way that the best and nothing but the best are there.
As chairman of Zenith Bank with more than 9% stake, Jim Ovia in 2015 was estimated by Forbes to have a net worth of $550 million. This net worth obviously has been surpassed since then. Jim Ovia, as a business person, founded 5 companies. They are Zenith Bank PLC, the Quantum Group, Visaphone Communications, Quantum Luxury Properties, Civic Center Towers, and Cyberspace Network. Jim is member, Honorary International Investors Council.
All right, Jim Ovia is a successful Nigerian investment banker who incidentally became a commercial banker. He followed into the banking industry in the early 90s when that industry was deregulated by Ibrahim Babangida. Over time, particularly with his IT skill from the United States of America, he pioneered some ICT-driven service in the bank. And Zenith Bank, which started as an investment financial service bank, so to speak, over time has grown in limbs and bounds. And this is salutary to the ingenuity, particularly entrepreneurial ingenuity of Jim Ovia in that industry. He has left a leading legacy in terms of perseverance, resilience, courage in the banking sector, and I think he's a trailblazer when it comes to the level of development that has come into the banking industry in the last 30-something years in Nigeria. Based on the success, particularly in the banking sector, he has veered into other sectors, insurance, medical services, and providing civic space for people to do events and some other things. So it's a entrepreneurial ingenuity was novel, but now it has become a pathfinder for those who want to brace the trade in entrepreneurship, particularly banking, investment, insurance, and any other sector of the Nigerian economy.
K. Ovia is CEO, Quantum Markets Limited, a firm that offers stock brokerage services. She sits on the board of several organizations and is chairman, board of directors of Cyberspace Limited, a leading software engineering company. Cyberspace Limited is one of the pioneers in provision of internet services in Nigeria, providing network and software services. Kay, being at the head of a tech giant in Nigeria, teamed up with her husband, Jim, to strategically deploy robust IT infrastructure at Zenith Bank, which resulted in the development of digital products and technology-driven banking in Nigeria. Kay is an alumnus of Enugu State University of Technology, Souq, where she holds an MBA in management. She is much given to philanthropy, with several initiatives to transform lives, particularly those of the underprivileged. One of her projects targeted at children and youths, Star Rising Talent Hunt, aims at discovering and projecting hidden talents.
All right, Mrs. K. Ovia, man, a great leader, very, very, very strong, great leader, a wonderful woman woman that has helped a lot of people. A lot of people. Woman, God sent woman. At the point, my mom was sick. We've been, moving her from one hospital to another, from one hospital to another, spending. So we got to a point where we could no longer meet up with the bills. So I called my twin sister, my other siblings. What do we do? She said, she really don't know. As for me, I've even spent all I had. So she then said she would talk to her boss. She used to do manicure, pedicure for her. I really don't know those names anyway. She used to do all those manicure and pedicure. She now walked up to her. She explained everything to her. She now said, your mom is in the hospital. Don't worry, I'll send ambulance. They'll go and pick her from that hospital to another hospital. So one morning she came to me. She said, that they want to move Momsi to another hospital. I said, move her to another hospital. How? Who wants to pay the bill? She said I shouldn't worry, that Miss K will pay. Miss K. Have you spoken with her? She said yes, now that they are bringing the ambulance now. I said okay. We rushed to the hospital. They picked her from the general hospital to Havana hospital. I was like, man, this hospital is expensive. She said I shouldn't worry. Her leg was amputated, and after a month, she could not, bear the pain. We lost her, and then she now said, okay, since it's that she'll pay the old bills. I was like, pay the old bills, care. How much is the bill? 6 million plus. She paid the old bills, gave us money to go and buy coffee, buy land. After even burying her, she gave my twin sister money. She sponsored her family to the United States of America. I've not seen this wonderful woman in my life. I was surprised. I was amazed. I was like, how do we get, if we have 20 Miss K in this country?
Jim is married to businesswoman and philanthropist Kay Ovia. She's also a hotelier, proudly running Starwood Hotels. Jim and Kay Ovia are blessed with 5 children: Isioma, Zephyr, Tito, Tommy, and Jesse. As a family man, Ovia enjoys spending time with his family. He also likes reading and traveling. In order to pass on his vast wealth of knowledge on business and finance to African entrepreneurs, Jim Ovia authored a book titled Africa, Rise and Shine. The book was published in 2018 by Forbes Books. The book was written after he featured in an issue of Forbes, and it became the magazine's best-selling edition in Africa, that it had to be reprinted 4 times. The book, Africa, Rise and Shine, paints the picture of his humble beginning from the small town of Agbo in Delta State, and against all odds, pushed through to become a global business icon, while providing insight on how to conquer challenges in African markets, taking advantage of the opportunities.
The weird thing about African billionaires is that they seem to not want to share their stories a lot. I know that a lot of times when you look at the story of billionaires in Nigeria and Africa, there's no link between point A and point B. But for Jim Ovia, his success has been trackable. You can tell when he was a clerk at the Barclays Bank in the 60s and 70s to where he became, the chairman and owner of one of the largest financial institutions in Nigeria, in Africa as a matter of fact. So it just underscores the fact that with a little bit of resilience and a lot of hard work and bigger dreams, you can achieve whatever goals that you set out to achieve. So for me, that's like the standard thing about Jim Ovia, and his foray into banking. They used to call them the cowboys of the banking industry, because at the time it seemed like the banking industry was a wild, wild west. You needed to have a lot of guts. you needed to have a lot of resilience, to be able to make a mark in the banking industry. If you look at what it's been able to do with Zenith Bank, there was a time that I think that the second largest bank in Nigeria now in terms of subscriber base and branch network. And that's the kind of big dreams, that's the kind of really inspiring moves that people need to make to show that the rest of us, Nigerians and Africans, are not doomed.
The man, Jim Ovia, is a firm believer of Africa being a continent abundant with natural and human resources. He has constantly pitched the continent as a land filled with investment opportunities in international business forums such as the Harvard Business School Annual Africa Business Conference, Bloomberg Global Business Forum, Commonwealth Business Forum, and the World Economic Forum, where he has been invited to participate and even deliver keynote address. Jim Ovia remains one of the pride of Africa and a great contributor to Nigeria's economy and the financial landscape in Africa.
Okay, as you know, my name is Babatunde Jala. I shortened it. That was part of my journey to Baba Jala. I was born here in Lagos, just a stone throw away from here in actually Lagos Hospital here. And I was expelled from school. I went to Corona Ikoyi at the age of 6. My teacher, who I found to be quite unjust at the time, made us all stand, and I remember this, even though it's like almost 45 years ago, but I remember standing outside Corona School in the heat with all the students in my class because one boy had done something and no one owned up. So I found that quite unjust that all of us had to suffer. So I picked up a stone and I threw that stone at my headmistress's glass and it broke her window. She told my parents, and my parents weren't very happy, of course, but they realized that I wasn't meant to be in school like that here. So the teacher actually asked me to leave, and my parents took me to England. They said, take this child to England. We can't control this child here. He's a wild fellow. So as soon as I got to England, I went to Tunbridge Wells in Kent. I went to school there, and it was the most cold experience I've ever had in my life. I was 6.5 going to 7, and I went to boarding school at that age. And I think that woke me up in life straight away, that even in comfort, you still have steel. And by that I mean that everyone would think, oh, you are lucky, you went to England at 6, 7. But I was very young. I was put in a dormitory with children from England, from Japan, from Saudi Arabia. We were all very young. There was a lot of crying in the dormitory, 12 boys, 6 on each side. And the room was very cold. I remember the cold. But one other thing I got to learn was rugby. And through my life, rugby and learning to deal with my condition and environment has instilled a strength in me. And as we know in Nigeria, you have a lot of things that happen that are out of your control, but you have to find a way to evolve and adapt. And I think from the age of 6, 7, I was very lucky to have that. I went to the oldest school in the world called King's Canterbury, started by St. Augustine in 598 AD. This was the secondary school I went to. And my life seemed pretty, what they say, gold-leafed at the time. Everyone's like, you enjoy, you're in Nigeria, you're in London. I learned to speak Spanish. Unfortunately, I lost my Yoruba, but I'm trying to get that back. I learned to speak Spanish and French. But at the age of 17, my father had a stroke. And he was working too hard, obviously. And sadly, my mom and dad had split up by that time. So my whole life that seemed so rosy stopped because my father's business partners, all of them somehow took the business and it went away. And from that going away, we were left destitute. My dad was in a coma for 3 months, and my mother, who wasn't working, because my sisters and I have 2 lovely older sisters, Yewande and Gigi, we were still in school. So much so that my last year's school fees were not paid. But one of my uncles kindly paid for my school fees, and my mother had to go to work. She started her own business. She too was a journalist, Mrs. Ibiene Epega, but she started a chauffeur driving company and started using cars to drive people with her staff. So from that age where I thought a university was going to be given, I was left floating in the abyss because we didn't have financials. So for 1 year I had to work in a post office in London, and it was quite an eye-opener for me, but it didn't stop me from adapting. And again, adaptation helped me grow. So from being in a very wealthy family as a young man, coming to the age of 17 to become an adolescent, a grown-up, I realized that nothing is given. My father sadly was in a stroke, and when he had that stroke, he became semi-paralyzed. For another 30 years, he was semi-paralyzed. But my mother died quite soon after that time in a car crash on the road to Warri, because my Okrika side and Warri side is where my mom was from, even though my father was Ijebu. So my mother died at the age of, when I was 21, which was 20 actually, when I was starting university. And my father was semi-paralyzed. So I became the father of the family, even though my sisters were older and far more intelligent than me. But being the man, I had to take control of a lot of things. And I think that's what really gave me the tenacity to understand that I really need to be someone who doesn't just walk in one field. I need to spread my risk. From my university, I did mathematical economics and Spanish. I was able to go to University, Queen Mary College, London University. And from there I finished, as I said, I worked again. So I worked before I went to uni, and then I worked afterwards. And for me, life is about collaboration, communication, and tenacity. And I think those were my first 21 years. There were less people in Lagos in those days. I won't lie. I grew up every summer and even Christmas where we could afford it. Back in my day, 1978-79, Naira was 0.8 to £1. So you can understand that people were very wealthy. I think in those days there was like 40 million people. It wasn't that much of it because my dad was an estate surveyor. So we used to go to Abuja a lot. And he was one of the surveyors that gridded Abuja when it was being built during the late 70s, 80s with Obasanjo, and even before Murtala Mohammed. They were gridding it. And Lagos was, shall I say, Abuja was made the capital. And Abuja is a model city of Milton Keynes, which is a model city of Paris. Just like Brasilia in Brazil was changed from Rio de Janeiro as a capital. So for me, coming back to Lagos was a joy. I enjoyed it because I was young. We used to just walk, run the streets on our bicycles and cycling, just exploring. Everything was open. There weren't as many cars. It was no big apartments, and there weren't as many people. So I had a beautiful time. There were a lot of lizards on the ground, and we used to throw stones at them. But that was my own youth. We used to go to the beach a lot. Bar Beach was around. It's not around now. Sadly, my dad used to take me to Bar Beach to see the capital punishment killings of armed robbers, and even Dimka, who was one of the leaders of the coup d'etat against Murtala Mohammed. We saw him shot there. Saturdays was a big day, and NTA used to have a channel. I think they still have their studio there. So one of our aunties, Ms. Julie Coker, was there. So we saw a different side of Nigeria. We would go to Ibadan, we'll go to Ijebu, we'll go to Benin, we'll go to Port Harcourt by road. In those days, you could travel, and along the way, we go to Akure, you pick up mangoes, you pick up coconuts, my dad will pick up palm wine, all these things on the road that I don't know if you get it now because security is an issue. So for me, it was a romantic time. I think fashion evolving through Nigeria has started as a siloed industry. By that I mean every individual was doing their own thing, whether they were a seamstress, a tailor, a designer, a stitcher, they were doing their own thing. But we are realizing that with the 200+ million people we have in Nigeria, you can't be an individual alone doing your own thing. So the evolution of fashion that I've seen in my own small way, as someone who's worked in the industry, is that there's more collaboration. The designers are looking for higher specialist artisans to help with their stitching, the styling, and the putting together of clothes and accessories. So I'm also seeing small grassroots shoots, very small at the moment, of the government playing a part in bringing together some kind of foundation so people can articulate their fashion designs to the world, because we have seen it in a lot of music. Obviously, Afrobeat is one of our biggest exports in this country. Obviously, there's oil and all the others, but I'm talking about within this entertainment, luxury, lifestyle industries. So we're trying to learn from that how private sector can play a part to enhance this fashion sector. So now we're seeing a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of styles. Men's fashion is big. It's not just women's fashion. Men's grooming is massive. Hair and beauty as well. So men are taking care of ourselves more and more. And accessories. Accessories, I think, is fundamentally the quick fix of fashion, where we can enhance and create jobs and hyper growth in GDP by focusing on this. And this is where I implore the government with, working in mineral resources, our precious metals, semi-precious metals, help those industries to grow. There's a great lady, Janet Adeyemi, who works in Women in Business, and she is working within that. Let's help our fairer sex or the female gender to grow in business as well, because there's a fundamental knowledge that if half your population are women, as ours is roughly, or maybe 51%, 52%, you have to educate the women so they too can add it to GDP. It's a simple economist theory. You can't leave them out of it because it's very important. And these industries in fashion are enhanced by women, and we need to push that forward. I think the banking system needs to be augmented, and I'm saying this from the government's perspective. The ease of doing business in Nigeria, as an investor myself, a foreign investor as well as being an indigent in Nigeria, the problem is not getting your money to Nigeria, it's getting your money out of Nigeria. Not that you want to suck all the money out of the country, but what can help is the floating exchange rates, the flow and liquidity of money that can come in and out of the country. A lot of investors are worried about how they get their money out of Nigeria. So I think our banking system, going back to the central bank, which they're working on, needs to be much more fluid. So people feel they can invest and take money out. But also, we need to articulate what is on offer. We need to start some kind of documentation of who is available to have investment with, where they can be found, because it's because we are quite an opaque economy, meaning that people can't see the end of where they're putting their money. Once we do that basis and open up the lights within which kind of businesses are available to be invested in, I think a lot of investors, domestic and international, will be more willing to put money into it. I think content creation for me has been an evolution. I started as an ex-banker, as I said. I used to trade futures and options in Barclays Bank. I was on the Life Exchange, trading bonds, and I found that wasn't my life. I wanted to be more closer to people. Some people can be bankers on the trading desk or trading floor, but not for me. So I started doing events. I was very lucky enough to show that I was quite adept at doing events. So a big company called Richemont, they owned Cartier, Dunhill, Hackett, They were part of British American Tobacco. They took me on to do their events. So I was doing a lot of polo matches, a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of brand activation events in England. So for me, I got a lot of content knowledge from that. Different styles, people, different countries. But in the last 10 years, I felt that helping companies like LinkedIn, Google, all kinds of big banks in Europe and America was not my remit. My business, EMC3, was going very strongly in America. But as a Niger man, I didn't feel love in America. I know that everyone says it's the land of opportunity, but being someone of my own African descent, I didn't like the mentality there. People are good, but the infrastructure is racist institutionally, as we know. So I felt I wanted to give something back to Nigeria. And with all the 20 years of, at that time, about 17 years of knowledge I'd gained from doing some of the best Grand Prix parties in the world, Formula One, around Monza, Silverstone, Abu Dhabi, I was doing a lot of events. I thought, let me take this back to Nigeria. I didn't have to come back to Nigeria. I wanted to. I know with all our grievances with Nigeria, if you ask many Africans about Nigeria, they'll say, they look up to us. You guys, you have Chinua Achebe, you have Wole Soyinka, you have Fela Kuti. What's your problem? You have Chimamanda Adichie. What's your problem? So we have to take ownership and say, yeah, we do have all these people. We have Afrobeats, whether it's Burna Boy, Davido, the Venus Bushfires, all these different people that are exported. Let us look inside and say, wow, we do have a lot. So I wanted, as a content creator, to show Nigeria in all the different sectors that we do have a lot. And that's why with the marketing and communications company that I've started, my own company, I felt I could touch so many sectors. And finance, as I mentioned, I work with banks. Also government, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, a very great entity. I work in fashion, with brand labels and people across the board. There are great shops like Alara here that also promote African fashion and African business. And did you know even Leventis does a lot of research, Nigerian bottling company, to help this country. And do you know Nigeria was blowing glass 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years before Europe knew glass blowing. And it's been found in Oyo State only recently. So it's very important that architecturally, we take ownership of our country. The Nok civilization that has been in the mid to, I think it's above Abuja, near Benue, and even Niger River, above those basins, that has a lot of artifacts and a lot of archaeological excavation potential. But we've allowed that just to linger. People have stolen a lot of our artifacts. Nigeria was known for Benin bronzes. We were the best smelters of iron before people were smelting iron. So these are things we have to take stock of. And me as a content creator, I bring all that information together and I make sure that people acknowledge it and are aware of it. So then that will uplift us all. Now, this is a political question, but I believe with our background of the last 20, 30 years, we've had, sadly, leaders who have been militarily inclined, let's just call it that. And as we know, military people, they don't like educated people because educated people will ask questions. So we have had what we call a dismemberment of education in Nigeria for the last 35 years. And that has played an endemic part in retarding the gross domestic productivity of our country because our youths and even people up to my age and older have not had the infrastructure, middle-class education that is needed for a country to grow. You look at the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century in Europe, especially in Britain, and you look how they were expanded by merchants and artisans and specific skilled workers. Apprenticeships were big, education was huge. There was what they call a noblesse obligée, a nobility obligation that people who are rich give back to institutions, not to church, to institutions that will help education. And that is where I think we've had a disconnect. Education was lacking. So for me, the way that we can help, it takes time. This new government is in. They are trying to implement the 8-point agenda, which is a good agenda. But everyone's looking for results now. Nigeria has been in a very bad state. There's global downturn. Obviously, cost of living is so high as it has been for a while. Nigeria is exacerbated, but in Europe, cost of living is high. There are some stupid wars going on around the world that has meant oil prices have skyrocketed. And you know, with the rocketing of oil, everything goes up price-wise. So Nigeria needs to reevaluate education and apprenticeship. I believe even in fashion industry especially, apprenticeship is very important. Whether it's weaving, designing, marketing, online, whatever it is, factories, you need apprenticeship. And that's the quick fix of education. But education is fundamental to everything. Education of men and women, or girls and boys, both. Let's be honest, we need both sides of our genders to work together. You know, Yoruba, we've always been what we call a dual binary kind of culture. We've always thought of male and female as one, and it's very important. Even in our names, Taiwo and Kehinde, you won't know if it's male or female. So we have to really educate ourselves that we can work together. And I think our women are our future. I can't even emphasize that more. And education is key. But it takes time. I think Japa syndrome is very real. Everyone wants a better life. Let's not lie. You want a better life for yourselves, but for your family, your parents, your children. And the opportunities in Nigeria, even when you have been educated and you finish graduate here, to find jobs is not easy. The infrastructure is very bad for job creation. And this is being worked on, you know, and the last 8 years has been fundamentally broken. But we know this new government is changing that. But specifically, Japa in Canada, they need our brains. You go across the world and you ask any nation, especially America, who are the best educated, the best, integrated, and the most proficient people, Nigerians. So it's not that we are stupid, it's that we don't have the infrastructure at home. And America, Canada, Europe, they're giving us the infrastructure. So getting out of Nigeria is not easy. There are opportunities and policies that allow it, but going across the border to Libya is not the way. You spend $5,000, $4,000, which is almost 4 or 5 million naira to try and get to Europe, and then you are treated like a dog when you get there. That's not the way. But, you know, there are certain policies that can take you to these countries. And in Britain, for instance, it's not all, the streets aren't paved in gold, but if you earn £1 in Britain, you send that home, that £1 is 1,300 naira. So, and the minimum wage is £14 an hour now in Britain. So you can do the maths of that. So someone who is earning £14 an hour, if they work 10 hours in a day, they've earned over £100, which is 100,000 naira. So the mass, of course, is what makes people want to go there, because even if you are working there, obviously you're paying British rates, so your rent, your cost of utilities, your food and drink, your transport comes into play. It's not cheap there. But the money you send, even if you're only sending £100 a month back to your mom, that's 100,000 naira. So, or 130,000 naira in today's rate. So you can do the maths. That's why people are going. And the security in these countries is, and the education, to be quite frank, is better. But it doesn't mean they are better. We have to build a house, you must thatch the roof from within, so your roof doesn't cave in. And I think that's very important. Not that people shouldn't go home. I mean, go out of the country, but they should always come home as they can. Because we need, you see the Pakistanis doing it, you see the Indians doing it, you see the Arabs, they go home and they build their own countries. It's not good to just japa and leave. You have to come home as well. I think my success is down to, as much as I can say a success, because it's still a book that is not finished. and the stories are still unwritten, is a tenacity of hard work. It's very important that people understand that it takes a lifetime to look like an overnight success. It doesn't just come. What I'm still doing, I'm not the most successful in my business, but I love my business. And if you can find something that you love and you can make money out of, then you're in heaven on earth, to be quite frank. I think my spirituality and my faith is very important, as is my wife's. My wife, Helen Epega, she wrote the world's first Pidgin English opera. And we've been staging it here in London. We played in Cape Town, in Nairobi, and in Lagos, sorry. And we've staged it in London. We're at the Royal Albert Hall next year. I'm executive producer of that. So I think my success, to add to that, is that I put all my eggs in one basket. And I work very hard to make sure I research and obtain knowledge of the next thing, or what was the last thing. I'm a historian as well. And I put things in perspective. And I try to add value as I can. But as my momsy used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I like to listen as well. And from children you can learn, from grandpapa you can learn. So humility is very important. I'm not arrogant with it. And I think that's the most important part. Collaboration, humility, and shared drive. But also knowing that for me, Saturday and Sunday, I'm off. That's my time for the family. I take a break. Sunday, even God rested on the 7th day. Me too, I rest. I'm not 24/7, even though this weekend we have a big fashion event, but that's work. But when I take my tools down, it's tools down. No one can call me on Sunday morning. So you can't be BOing to people. Never let anyone own you like that. That's what I say. Someone calling you on Sunday morning, obviously in journalism, in film, it's a different from projects. I'm not saying every time, but just be aware of yourself and your mental health. That's the most important. Sure. The world's first Pidgin English opera is a show about a Nigerian fabled people. It's almost like Orisha, but it's not. There are people who are Mami Waters as well as they are spiritual people. They are the guardians of the galaxy, to use an expression. There is God, the all-faithful God, and the all-knowing God, omniscient, omnipotent. But below that, there are all these almost demigods that look after, let's say, this sector of the universe. And these people are singers. They sing opera. But they sing it with Pidgin English. And you know, Pidgin is a language that is known by most Nigerians, but it's a language that people shun and say, it's a bad language. But they speak Pidgin in Hawaii. They speak Pidgin in China. They speak Pidgin, Old English Cockney is Pidgin. American even is a form of Pidgin because they Yankified English. So what my wife has done, Helen Epega, she's also known as the Venus Bushfires. She is an Afrofuturist musician. She composes songs. So she put together this compilation, which is a Pidgin English opera musical. And it's a show that lasts for about 45 minutes or an hour and a half. It depends if you're doing the short version or long version. So we have tenors, we have sopranos, we have violinists, we have kura player, and my wife plays something called the hang, which is like 2 tortoise-shell steel drums that sound like a harp. And she plays that and she sings. She's the main protagonist in this. And it's a drama about all these people that have come, the Meneme people, who are meant to look after the planet, but they lose their voice. So Earth is, because God is angry with them, the Earth, and says these people are rubbish. But the Meneme people say to God, please, give them one more chance. They're not that bad. I know they're fighting, there's lots of wars, but give them another chance. So the lead Kanate of these Meneme people has to go to the Venus Bushfire, which is the heavenly celestial place, to bring the voice back, to sing Earth back into harmony. So it's a drama, and it kind of plays on our old cultural awareness in Africa and heritage of Nigeria of there are other beings. And you must have faith in your ancestors as well as in a God. And the deities, as we know in Yoruba, I think there are 7 deities. And these are very important cultural awareness that we try to give to children as well. I think the filmmaking in Nigeria is burgeoning. The African Film Festival, International Film Festival, is on now, which is a great show. I helped incept in 2010, many years ago. We had it in Port Harcourt. It was Governor Rotimi Amici that started that campaign, but it's going on very strongly now. Nollywood, as we call it, is being noticed by the international market, whether it's Netflix or Hollywood. I would like to tell you something actually, which is, I haven't divulged this for many years. My great uncle, whose name is Pa Orlando Martins, God rest his soul, was one of the first African actors in Hollywood. He acted in the 30s with people like Ronald Reagan, Katharine Hepburn, and Bob Hope. And he always played a part as an African prince or chief. He was never like denigrated or made into a lower African slave or anything. And I think that instilled something in my mind with this film industry. I think it's very important that Nigeria, as it is, we have some great actors like Wale Ojo and Ramsey Noah. They are playing part in producing their own shows. And it's very important. Like in America, you obviously have people like Mel Gibson, Robert De Niro, who have produced their own films as well. That Nigerians are not just actors or technicians, they are also producers and directors. It's very important that we have that link within our industry. And we make friends and we forge relationships, not just with Hollywood. There's Bollywood, the Indian industry, and there's also China, because China's film industry is massive. Technically, I think just as big as Hollywood. So we must look to ourselves in Africa as well. There's some great film makers from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ghana, and I think collaboration is, I always use collaboration because I would not be here without collaboration. Obviously, my wife, you collaborate with your spouse, but also my businesses. I have a very good English business partner. He's really a business partner. I've started a new business. I collaborate with all kinds of industries and different sectors. So for film industry, I think it's important that we push our heritage forward because people want to know about Nigeria. They love, in Africa, they love Nollywood stories, and that's a fact. And we can expand by using distribution. Distribution is key. Netflix, all the Hollywood film houses, negotiate with them. Even if you don't get the best price for this show, make sure you check your contract, make sure you get it for your next film. So I think that's important, distribution. While I'm still alive, that's a very good question. Hope springs eternal with me, and I am optimistic about Nigeria. I think Nigeria is not what we all will think it will be. It's something it's a country that needs to be more fluid. We have in diaspora a lot of powerful individuals and groups. I think we need to connect even more with those individuals and groups who need to invest in Nigeria. Our youth is very talented and is very able, but it's also very abundant. So we need to find a way to link up education, apprenticeship to these youth to give them something that is productive to work in. And that means expanding your mind as parents. It's not just doctors, lawyers, bankers that we need. We need artisans, we need creatives. And that's the most important point. It's a mind block. So for me, if we can work on Nigeria's mind psyche and the taboos of oh, we don't want our child to marry a musician. You know, even as a musician, you don't just have to be a rapper. You could be a music engineer. You could be a filmmaker. You could be an engineer that works with the technical aspects of editing. You could be a designer. There's so many aspects. So I say to my utopian Nigeria, learn from your brothers and sisters. International research online is very important. And for me, the dream is to see Nigeria as a fluid country of strength in Africa, where we're trading with African countries and we're using what we have as our asset. Technically, of course, we need Europe and America and everything, but we have it in Africa. We have it in Nigeria. So my beauty of Nigeria would be if we become our own Wakanda, working with other African states and enhancing our own GDP as well as our region and our continent's GDP working together. Gosh, my favorite, what's the first one? Food. As you can see, I like my food. Is I like a mixture actually. I like amala. I like yams. I swallow very well. Whether it's with ogbono soup, that's very good. But also, from my mother's riverside, there's one okra, seafood okra that my mom used to make. And I still strive to find that. I go and find that whenever I go away. In London, you have some nice Nigerian restaurants, and in Lagos, of course, as across Nigeria. But nothing like home cooking. When my wife makes me a nice, I suppose she makes a goosey for me, eba, and that's my staple. My best music, I love Afrobeats, of course, but predominantly I'm a Fela man. Ebenezer Obey. I like the old styles. And I also like Zaire music. There's high life that comes across Africa. But to be a lie to say I don't like Jimi Hendrix. I like Jimi Hendrix. He's a guitarist, a Native American, African American guitarist. I love his kind of music. So those are my mainstays. And Gorillaz and De La Soul are still very great music of mine. Those are my Spotify at the moment. What was the other question? I like wrestling. They used to call it Gidigbo back in the day, Yoruba wrestling. I used to love that. I haven't seen that much lately, but I like Nigerian wrestling. Obviously, we play good football. We're great footballers as well, globally. But you said Nigerian sports. Polo. Nigeria, I like Nigerian polo as well. To my young brethren and children of Nigeria, I say it's important hard work. Hard work, research, and belief in yourself. Obviously, times are very tough at the moment and money is tight. But with your own creativity, you can build your empire from there. I always believe that from one's mind, you can make worlds and you shouldn't give up. Obviously, if you're not very great at one thing, you find what you are great at. But always be honest with yourself and treat others how you want to be treated. And remember, collaboration is the key or the little sister of success. And always have a smile. Very important. That's what I say.
Electric-powered cars, we have seen electric-powered planes, and we have seen electric-powered buses. But what about our waterways? As we can see, the waterways are very free, are very clear. Now let's picture this, electric-powered ferries. Now, on today's show on Market Insights, this beautiful Thursday morning, we're going to look at electric-powered ferries as a sustainable transportation solution. Come along with me. Let's navigate these waters. Hello again, and it's still Market Insights, and I am your host, Lavina Emma. So imagine commuting to work or traveling to visit loved ones without contributing to air pollution or carbon emissions. Now, electric-powered ferries offer a cleaner, quieter, and more efficient alternative to traditional fossil fuel powered vessels. Now, this isn't just about reducing emissions, it's about improving the quality of life of countless people all over our country. Now, with lower operating costs, reduced maintenance needs, in addition, Electrical ferries also make transportation more accessible for affordable communities all over our country. Now, the use of electric ferries is also a smart business move. Operating costs are reduced compared to the traditional diesel ferries. And as you know, right now, there's a rising increase in the price of petroleum. So this is definitely going to be a game changer for ferry operators. Now, for example, in European countries like Sweden and Norway, they have started using electric-powered ferries. And these innovative vessels are connecting people everywhere, from people from their place of work back to their homes. It makes movement, it makes transportation easier for them. So that being said, on today's program, we're going to be discussing electric-powered ferries, its benefits to us as a country, and also what we stand to gain from using this. So join us after the break.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas touch and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Thank you for watching the program. Now, my guest this morning is joining us virtually, and his name is Kazim Sanusi. He's an integrated development expert, and we're going to be discussing electric-powered ferries initiative and as a sustainable transportation solution. So thank you for joining us, Kazim Sanusi.
Thank you very much, Lavina. Good to be here.
Glad to have you on the program this morning. Okay, so against this backdrop now, the Lagos State government has signed an agreement with the European Union for a 410 million euro initiative for us to have electric-powered ferries right now in the country. But first of all, let's just start off with the background to this. Now, what are we going to see with electric-powered ferries in Lagos State, for example, as a coastal state?
Well, I think in terms of the background, so let's characterize what this is. This Omieko Water Transport Project is a significant investment at 410 million euro, and it reflects, for me, and also, of course, to a lot of professionals and also to Lagosians, it should reflect the Lagos State's commitment to transforming its transportation infrastructure. With the support by World Bank, it means that the project is also attracting, how do you say it, is also the rest of the world, of the professional world and the financial world, is also comfortable enough for the World Bank to want to put its name behind the project. So it aims to introduce electric ferries, which are cleaner and more efficient alternatives. But first, from this, then we go to the background. The Lagos State environment is, with a population exceeding 20 million people, it's dense urban fabric, rapid urbanization, unique challenges. It presents unique challenges and opportunities. So, and then the city is along the Atlantic coast. So what you have is a city that is almost, I'll say like 75%, the water body in Lagos is connected. And in instances where they are actually not connected, they have intermittent connection. For instance, when flood happens, then it connects all the water bodies. So by doing this, it means that you're removing the risk to aquatic life. You're reducing by making sure that we're taking the fossil fuel out of that water transport environment. So this is a very good initiative here.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sanusi. Now, how can electric-powered ferries reduce operating costs and also improve efficiency for transportation providers?
In terms, so first is we're taking out the need for fossil fuel. Then also, if you know anything, if we know anything about the transmission to electric vehicles, they have less moving parts, you know. So it means that there is also the lower maintenance costs. They're also more electronically monitored, you know, so you can know the state of each vehicle's battery, and the components by not necessarily. There's a feedback system to the control where you can easily monitor and see how each vehicle or each ferry is doing. So I think it will really reduce operating costs, and with that, it should then mean that over the long term, you will be looking at cheaper transport in the coastal transport, ferry transport environment.
Hey, that'll be very good. I look forward to that happening. We definitely need cheaper, something like transportation needs to be cheaper all over this country right now. Okay, now let's take a step back and let's talk about the environmental benefits of switching from electric-powered ferries, switching from the fossil fuel-powered vessels to the electric-powered ferries. Now, how do they compare when we have to compare both of these ferries or these vessels for our coastal transportation?
Well, there is, in terms of environmental sustainability, right? Environmental impacts and all, there is no comparison between a sustainable energy and fossil fueled energy, right? So the transition to electric-powered ferries would substantially, how do I say it now, reduce greenhouse gas emissions and contribute to Lagos State's efforts to combat climate change. And if there's any state that needs to really focus on these climate change concerns, it is Lagos. You guys, Lagos has the annual, it seems to be the norm. It seems to have become the norm now. And I hope that government would be able to crack these nuts very soon. The norm that with every year there must be flood, you know, which is on its own is very sad, because I believe that there are solutions around it that would require all hands to be on deck, all professionals in that space to be on deck, the planners, the GIS people, the engineers, and all of that. So sorry to digress, you know, so that's it on the flood. I believe it's a problem that Lagos State can tackle. It just needs to be better thinking around it. And then it's not a desktop affair. It is a project that should be done on foot. So on this one, by replacing the diesel-powered ferries, you know, or petrol-powered ferries, the initiative will naturally lower the city's carbon footprint, which would also have potential opportunity for carbon credits if Lagos State is going to really capitalize on that, improve air quality, create healthier environment for residents, and so it's really a broader move to, you know, to promote renewable energy and sustainable practices in urban transport. So it's something that we should commend the Lagos State government for.
Sanusi. Now, we know that this currently, like you said, this initiative to have electric powered ferries, it's a partnership with the World Bank and the Lagos State government worth over 410 million euros now. But it also has other financiers, the French Development Agency, and there's also an investment loan of 170 from the European Investment Bank of 170 million euros. So there's a lot of partnership from these foreign investors and also our Lagos State government too. So now, how do we integrate this electric powered ferries with to partner with our other means of transportation here in Lagos? That's the commercial buses and also the commercial cars too, so that we can have a seamless transportation system in our Lagos states.
Yes, so for transport to be so Lagos, I always say that Lagos is peculiarly blessed in the sense that every form of transport needs to happen. Every mode of transport needs to happen in Lagos. The rail, the road, the non-motorized, the water-based. So Lagos is peculiarly blessed. Now, I don't see it as a challenge. I just think it needs more of us seeing it as a blessing and going in that direction. So for this, for Lagos to really, really lock down this blessing, there must be a total commitment to full integration, seamless integration of all transport modes, transport routes, transport networks, which means creating efficient intermodal connections with buses, trains, and all these other things, and then ensuring smooth transitions, not just creating the intermodal connections, but also ensuring smooth transitions between the different modes, to enhance the convenience and appeal to the overall public transport system, which will definitely then encourage a lot more people to use it. And then so it's really around what are the thoughts about intermodal connections. We don't want to have a gap. We want to have a closed loop system that once you get on the bus, if you need to go on the rail, you're there, you're connected. If you need to go on the ferry, you're connected. You're not at any point in time left stranded. So that is the thinking, is fully integrated intermodal connections. That's the way to go.
Okay,
and it would come with
that,
infrastructure,
so that there are no hitches along the journey for people who are moving from work to house every day. So now the Omi-Eko project, which is expected to be implemented between this year 2024 and 2030, has also included construction work on 25 ferry terminals, and the governor has also informed investors that an additional 15 ferries have also been secured for this transition to electric ferries too. So now, that being said, now how do we ensure that these ferries, since they're going to be powered by electricity, we need to have the charging stations, that's the infrastructure in place to ensure that there are no everything is moving seamlessly in the event when a ship or a ferry needs to be charged. It can easily move to the charging station to be charged. But we have a key challenge in our country right now, and that's our power sector. So how do we ensure that our power sector is also working efficiently to be able to power this electric ferries to ensure that our transportation works very well?
Okay, so first, so you've asked basically two areas that this question needs to be answered from. First is the infrastructure and investment needs that needs to happen around the charging stations, docking facilities, maintenance hubs, and all. Look at the water environment like the road environment. All right. So for the BRT system, you have the terminals. So the difference is just that this one is water-based, This one is land-based. So this is basically the same thing, you know. And then so we look at it from that angle. It means that we should also be looking, the design will be that such that it recognizes that where would the ferries stay overnight, where when they are staying overnight, can we introduce charging, so I'm sure Lagos State would have done a lot of this thinking. So I don't think we should have any concerns around that. They should, because when we do this kind of projects, we're already looking at what are the needs, you know, for making sure the project is successful and sustainable. So this would have been perfected. But in terms of power, you know, to charge the electric ferries, I would say that yes, positive that this would have been factored in, but all the same, we have a lot of potential beyond. Sorry to say, beyond our power holders' support. We have a lot more potential. We have the wind, we have the water-based wave, tidal energy. We have a lot. We have tidal energy. We have the sun. So I think this should be really looked at. And the fact that the charging stations will be so these are open spaces. So you have the benefit of good wind and benefit of unhindered sunshine when there is. So I think that we should look more at sustainable energy support for the project than if we can take it completely off grid, it will be more reliable. Yes.
Okay, perhaps the potential of the generating power from the tidal waves and also from the sun.
Yes.
So those are the potentials that the Lagos State government needs to consider, more renewable energy options. So what are your thoughts on this, please?
Yes, like I said, that's the way to go. I think the Lagos State government should focus on taking it completely off grid. You know, focus purely on tidal waves, on wind, on sun, you know, on solar generation. The combination of that, we should have, we should speak, the Lagos State should be speaking with the people who are professionals in making sure that 3 sustainable energy sources are deployed together. You know, so and that should be the way to go, because it doesn't. The ferries would always be on top of water. All the facilities are always going to be connecting the water and the land, or the land and the rail, or the land and the buses. So we should look in that direction of making sustainable energy all the way. Once that is done, then it's usually the capital costs initially may be higher, but ultimately the benefits stack up, they rack up better, much sustainably than sticking with the oftentimes inefficient grid that we have. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sanusi. Now, we know that the Omi-Eko project is an initiative with the World Bank and also the European Investment Bank and Lagos State governments now. So how can the government incentivize the adoption of electric ferries by operators?
Well, I think to a very large extent, the government is already leading this. From what I know, we don't know that much yet until we're getting, but from the feelers we're getting, this is going to be another case of the BRT, where the government needs to show commitment, show the way, you know. The government is leading in this case, and I then hope that over time it will then be devolved fully to the private sector, you know, so that government will then play the regulatory role. But at the moment, I think government is leading by example, so to speak. So if we go this route, ideally, we will be seeing a divestment from government over the next couple of years because these entities as well, the World Bank and all, they don't want infrastructure owned and operated by government. It's not a good governance model for infrastructure projects. So I think that's what we should expect to see, where government is only just showing that this is the way to go, way to go as our backing, that's the backing of our international partners, the French Development Agency, European Development Agency, World Bank, and all that. So that I think is what we should be looking out for. I think by the time the project is fully kicking off, it will be more of private operators. So in terms of incentivizing private operators, what do private operators look out for? Investment protection. That I can put my money in this project and I can take it out. The money can yield, is not going to get lost. Government is not going to wake up one day and say they don't like my face or they don't like the face of the last governor who gave me the concession. So once all of those things are in place, the private sector is keen. The private sector is always looking for where to work and invest and all that. So you don't have those kind of gaps.
Okay. Yes, well done. Well said, Mr. Sanusi. So now let's take a break now. When we return, we're going to discuss further with Mr. Kazim Sanusi. Do stay tuned.
Tafawa Balewa Square, TBS. Tafawa Balewa Square was initially used as a horsing ground called Lagos Race Course. The edifice was constructed by General Yakubu Gowon in 1972 and named after Nigeria's first Prime Minister, Sir Tafawa Balewa. Tafawa Balewa Square is located at 45/57 Mase Bangboshe Street on Lagos Island, Lagos, and referred to as TBS. TBS is a 50,000-seater capacity venue and houses the Remembrance Arcade, the 26-story Independence House, which at a time was the country's tallest building. When Lagos served as the country's seat of government, the National Assembly Complex was within the TBS. Also in the square are the National Broadcasting Commission Office, the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency Office, shopping centers, travel agencies, restaurants, car parking lots, and a bus terminal. Tafawa Balewa Square is adorned with beautiful statues of white horses and red eagles, symbols of strength and dignity. Our historic neighbors include the King's College and the Holy Cross Cathedral. Tafawa Balewa Square hosted some of the country's memorable events, such as the Independence Day in 1960, when Nigeria gained independence from Britain, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, which is celebrated annually on January 15. The edifice is a national cultural asset. Tafawa Balewa Square, Souq Enlightenment.
Thank you for watching the program. I'm still discussing virtually with my guest online, Mr. Kazim Sanusi, who is an integrated policy expert, and we are talking about electric-powered ferries initiative and sustainable transportation solutions. So Now, we have talked about the benefits of using electric-powered ferries for Lagos State, a coastal state. Now, I'm looking at other states in the country. Lagos is not the only coastal state. The states in the Niger Delta region too. I believe this initiative can also be extended to them too. Now, in that being said, now I believe it can work as a public-private sector investment. So now, what role can the private sector adopt for or what role can they play for this electric-powered ferries and other sustainable transportation solutions in other parts of Nigeria, like the South region, for example?
So I think we need to look at it from what the laws of the country would permit initially, because there are federal waters, then waters that could be inland and all of that. So I think more on the inland waterways, which our inland waterways have not been well developed yet, but I know that the latest minister, Marine and Blue Economy, is doing some initiatives, so which we're yet to see how it's going or get the final clarity on their strategies and approach. But I think we will be seeing some improvements in the development of inland waterways. I think for that, it might be easier for private sector players to come in. But the thing is, private sector players in this space who are interested need to begin to speak their story to the authorities. We can do this because, so what you typically find is when government decides to lead, typically a lot of things, a lot of details or dynamics are missed in the development of these projects, opportunities, because the integration between the handshake is not complete, So the private sector should make sure that the handshake is complete as fast as possible so that they can jointly develop the operating environments, frameworks, the licensing frameworks, the safety parameters, and all of that. So that no one feels no, this is not right, or this is too much burden and all of that. So it has to be jointly defined. And once that is done, the private sector, in actual fact, if that is done, the private sector will feel more comfortable to come in because they feel that they've participated in developing the framework for the environment. So I think the private sector should step up to the game and begin to engage with states.
Okay, now let's talk about the economic benefits of this initiative. Now, so what potential job creations and of this initiative, the electric-powered ferries, can it bring to Lagos State and to our country, Nigeria, in terms of job creations and also to improve on our transportation system?
Yeah, well, it's excuse me. So there is the potential to generate new economic opportunities. Let's take that first, particularly in the green technology and renewable energy sectors. So a lot more people will be able to get a foothold in that space. We're talking about the government, the system, the entire system using green technology. That's the sun, the blue, the water, and the wind, and the renewable energy sector. So let's see how a lot of people or firms will be coming into that space. And then job creation will span various fields: engineering, construction, maintenance, operations, support services, ticketing, so it's a whole lot. I haven't seen the figures, but I don't think there will be any station that will generate less than 100 to 200 direct and indirect employment. So it's a very viable, it's a very good thing, the direction to go. And because Lagos is now being positioned as a hub for sustainable transport, the city would also attract further investments in that area, which will further stimulate economic growth. So it's a win-win-win-win-win all the way for the state and the people of Lagos.
Yes, yes. From everything you have said so far, yes. But now let's talk more about these challenges. Now, I'm sure there are still some barriers, but let's talk about these barriers now. For example, companies that are looking to enter into the electric ferry markets now. What kind of barriers will be put? And how will they address these challenges in terms of policy, technology, and financial support?
Yes, so in terms of policy, I would think that with this initiative of Lagos State, World Bank, French Development Agency, all of them in that picture, I don't think we should have fears anymore. At least for the rollout policies, they will be in place. And then there would also be, how do you say, iterative points that have been introduced in the implementation of the policies, so that when we see at some point this isn't working, at what point are we reviewing and iterating? So all of those we don't have any challenges. It's only when we do things ourselves that we don't have all of those. We're not crossing the T's and the I's that much. But the minute you have the FDA, World Bank, and IFC in the picture with you, you do not have a choice. You cannot go faster than what needs to be done. It's impossible. So I want to believe that that is the case. And that means that everyone should have the comfort to come into that space from the ab initio. In fact, people should, private sector entities that are interested should be making inquiries now. How do we come in? What are the procedures? Because from the point of announcement, we may be looking at another 6 months down the line before the first services flagged off. So I think it's open playing field for now. I think I'm sure the private sector will be a lot more comfortable, because at that level also they have an understanding of what these entities being in the picture implies. And Lagos State has already shown from lessons of experience with the Lamata, the BRT, and co. That they work with international best practices. So I don't think these challenges will be there. But the thing is, in the project development phase, it will be good to know how many what the market engagement was, to know if private sector entity players had any contribution. Yeah.
Okay, well, still on this, I know this is going to be a big business for a lot of business people, not like you mentioned, different sectors of our economy that will benefit from this now. So now let's focus on more of the opportunities for businesses, for example, in the supply chain of ferry components and services. So we know that these ferries, I believe their parts will most likely be imported for the time before we can start manufacturing the parts for these ferries in the event that we need to get spare parts for them now. So opportunities, can we talk about the opportunities? What opportunities exist for businesses in the supply chain of the electric ferry components and services?
So in terms of so you've rightly said it, because when you do procurement for specialized equipment, right? Ideally, you have a plan with the supplier, with the manufacturer, to ensure that the specialized equipment can live out its economic life and beyond. All right? And for you to have that, you're looking at a well-organized framework for parts, service, and maintenance. All right. So, and with that in mind, then you have to be sure that, so we can be sure that this would have been in place or will be in place as at the point of procurement. But in terms of other things, over time, when you're operating these equipments, over time you find that some parts require shorter replacement times or more frequent replacements. Those ones, ideally, over time, you begin to find players locally who would be in the picture. It will be in the will be positioning to be able to produce and supply all of those. So I think it's an ecosystem that is going to evolve. In terms of the ferry environment, we do not know, we can't say precisely yet, but we can be sure that all of these models will be in place and that the people will be able to plug in. But in terms of lubricants, ultimately we'll see lubricants business for these ferries. Look, no, sorry, they're electric, so there won't be lubricants. So you see, you understand. So those are the kind of things that it's a different ball game entirely, and we hope that we think it's going to be a great time for us all to witness.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Mr. Sanusi. Okay, yes, we know that people are going to be using these ferries from one point to the other, and we know with whether it's a car or a bus or a plane, there's always safety to consider for the passenger. So what are the potential safety implications for the use of people on this electric ferries?
Yeah, so there are standard operating procedures in every environment, unlike in those days when we were growing up in Lagos, we used to take ferries without the lifeboat, the life jacket and all of that from CMS to Apapa. I am sure that would not be the case. I'm very positive that will be the case now on this because the standard operating procedures will be more firmly in place and more firmly observed and insisted on. So I think it's going to be way more safer than that. And then also, in this kind of instances, there is also the search and rescue. There is also a whole lot of safety procedures or features or services are already factored in to. In actual fact, safety is one of the primary considerations when you're designing, especially places, the services that are add to rescue. Like water. If it's land-based, most people can run there. Water-based, not many people can jump in the water. So safety is one of the primary considerations. So based on that, I believe that that's been well covered, and we will see a safer regime of ferry travels in Lagos.
Okay, now, before we round up the program now, yes, I would like to get your thoughts on the future of the use of these electric ferries and also how it will improve our sustainable transportation here in Lagos. And, okay, before we just get right into your final thoughts on this now, the people living in these coastal communities now, how can the use of this technology improve the quality of their lives? First of all, let's start with that.
Well, the transition into electric vehicles will be so in the hope that every ecosystem will be able to self-cure when we stop introducing pollutants, right? We would hope that their source of livelihoods would gradually return, because we would have reduced pollution by fossil fuels, diesel, engine oil, and all of that in the waterways, in the water system. So hopefully over time, we may be, of course, with other efforts to clean up the space, we may be able to get gradual return of the aquatic life, you know, and their source of livelihood. Because people in coastal areas, their source of livelihood is actually water-based, you know. So, and then also for their health and hygiene and all of that as well, you know, then the stench from the water would also begin to reduce. So I think it would be, they will be the primary beneficiaries of the beauty of depollution, if we can use that word, depolluting the water system of Lagos. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sanusi. Now, yes, to round up the program now, the future of this technology, the use of the electric-powered ferries now, so as a means of sustainable transportation in Lagos. So, your thoughts on this before we close the program?
I think it's already here. The future is already here. We're already talking the electric vehicles and all of that, electric vehicles, electric ferries. But I think that what we will see will be increase in coverage, increase in spread, increase in interconnectivity. That's what we should be looking at. That's the future of the future, where we now make sure that it's inclusive, is integrated, is universally accessible. No one, because it's in a wheelchair, is unable to get onto the ferry, or because it's in crutches, is unable to get on the ferry. So those are the kind of things that we will be looking to see. But I think we have arrived at in that future of water transportation already. So, and if all the necessary things are in place, then we can see these ferries living their full economic life and beyond, with the full bundle of support infrastructure, support activities, support facilities, and then safety and environmental considerations. So all of this we're already in the future. We just want to be sure that the future is improving. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining me on Market Insights, Kazim Sanusi. It's been a pleasure discussing the electric-powered ferries initiative and as a means for sustainable transportation in Lagos State, and also the recent investments, the partnership with the World Bank worth 410 million euros and Lagos State government. It's been a pleasure discussing this with you, and we look forward to having you again on Market Insights.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so that's our time on today's program as we discuss the use of this technology for our transportation system. And as my guest said, it's definitely going to improve transportation on our waterways and also benefit the coastal communities in the long run. So many thanks for watching the program. I am your host, Lavina Emma.
I am especially pained by the loss of lives in Borno, Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna, and other states, the destruction of facilities in some states, and the wanton looting of supermarkets and shops, contrary to the promise of protest organizers that the protest will be peaceful across the country. The destruction of properties set us back as a nation, as scarce resources will be again used to restore them. I commiserate with the families and relations of those who have died in the protests. We must stop further bloodshed, violence, and destruction. As the president of this country, I must ensure public order in line with the constitutional oath to protect the lives and property of every citizen. Our government will not stand idly by and allow a few with a clear political agenda to tear this nation apart. Under the circumstances, I hereby enjoin protesters and the organizers to suspend any further protest and create room for dialogue, which I have always acceded to at the slightest opportunity. Nigeria requires all hands on deck and need us all, regardless of age, party, tribe, religion, or other divides, to work together, reshaping our destiny as a nation. To those who have taken undue advantage of this situation to threaten any section of this country, be warned. The law will catch up with you. There is no place for ethnic bigotry or such threats in the Nigeria we seek to build. Our democracy progresses when the constitutional rights of every Nigerian are respected and protected. Our law enforcement agencies should continue to ensure full protection of life and properties of innocent citizens in a responsible manner. My vision for our country is one of a just and prosperous nation where each person may enjoy the peace, freedom, and meaningful livelihood that only democratic good governance can provide. One that is open, transparent, and accountable to the Nigerian people. For decades, our economy has remained anemic and taken a dip because of many misalignments that have stunted our growth. Just over a year ago, our dear country, Nigeria, reached a point where we couldn't afford to continue the use of temporary solutions to solve long-term problems for the sake of now and our unborn generations. I therefore took the painful yet necessary decision to remove fuel subsidy and abolish multiple foreign exchange system, which had constituted a noose around the economic jugular of our nation and impede our economic development and progress. These actions block the greedy and the profit that smugglers and rent seekers made. They also block the undue subsidy we had extended to our neighboring countries to the detriment of our people, rendering our economy prostrate. These decisions are made were necessary if we must reverse the decades of economic mismanagement that didn't serve us well. Yes, I agree, the buck stops on my table, but I can assure you that I am focused fully on delivering the governance to the people, good governance for that matter. In the past 14 months, our government has made significant strides in rebuilding the foundation of our economy to carry us into a future of plenty and abundance. On the physical side, aggregate government revenue has more than doubled, hitting over 9.1 trillion naira in the first half of 2024, compared to the first half of 2023 due to our efforts at blocking leakages, introducing automation, and mobilizing funds creatively without additional burden on the people. Productivity is gradually increasing in the non-oil sector, reaching new levels and taking advantage of the opportunities in our current economic ambience. My dear brothers and sisters, we have come this far, coming from a place where our country spent 97% of all our revenue on debt service. We have been able to reduce that to 68% in the last 13 months. We have also cleared legitimate outstanding foreign exchange obligations of about $5 billion without any adverse impact on our programs. This has given us more financial freedom and room to spend more money on you, our citizens, to fund essential social services like education and healthcare. It has also led to our state and local government receiving highest allocation ever in our country's history from the Federation account. We have also embarked on major infrastructure projects across the country. We are working to complete inherited projects critical to our economic prosperity, including roads, bridges, railways, power, and oil and gas development. Notably, the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and Sokoto-Badagry Highway projects will open up 16 connecting states, creating thousands of jobs and boosting economic output through trade, tourism, and cultural integration. Our once declining oil and gas industry is experiencing a resurgence on the back of the reforms I announced in May 2024 to address the gaps in the Petroleum Industry Act. Last month, we increased our oil production to 1.61 million barrels per day, and our gas assets are receiving the attention they deserve. Investors are coming back, and we have already seen 2 foreign direct investments signed over $500 million since then. Fellow Nigerians, we are a country blessed with both oil and gas resources, but we met a country that had been dependent solely on oil-based petrol, neglecting its gas resources to power the economy. We were also using our hard-earned foreign exchange to pay for and subsidize the use. To address this, we immediately launched our compressed natural gas initiative, CNG, to power our transportation economy and bring us down. This will save over 2 trillion naira a month being used to import PMS and AGO and free up our resources for more investment in healthcare and education. To this end, we'll be distributing 1 million kits of extremely low or no cost to commercial vehicles that transport people and goods and who currently consume 80% of imported PMS and AGO. We have started the distribution of conversion kits and setting up of conversion centers across the country in conjunction with the private sector. We believe that this CNG initiative will reduce transportation costs by approximately 60% and help to curb inflation. Our administration has shown its commitment to the youth by setting up the student loan scheme. To date, 45.6 billion has already been processed for payment to students and their respective institutions. and encourage more of our vibrant youth population to take advantage of this opportunity. We established the Consumer Credit Corporation with over 200 billion to help Nigeria to acquire essential products without the need for immediate cash payment, making life easier for millions of households. This will consequently reduce corruption and eliminate cash and opaque transactions. This week, I ordered the release of an additional 50 billion naira, each for NEL Fund, the student loan, and credit corporation for the proceeds of crime recovered by the EFCC. Additionally, we have secured $620 million under the Digital and Creative Enterprises, IDICE, a program to empower our young people, creating millions of IT and technical jobs that will make them globally competitive. This program, including the 3 million technical talent scheme, unfortunately, one of digital centers was vandalized during the protests in Kano. What a shame. In addition, we have introduced the Skill Up Artisans Program, SUPA, the Nigerian Youth Academy, NIA, and the National Youth Talent Export Program, NATIP. Also, more than 517 billion has been released to the 36 states to expand livelihood support to their citizens, while 600,000 nano businesses have benefited from our nano grants. An additional 400,000 more nano businesses are expected to benefit. Furthermore, 75,000 beneficiaries have processed to receive our 1 million micro and small business single-digit interest loans starting this month. We have also built 10 MSME hubs within the past year, created 240,000 jobs through them, and 5 more hubs are in progress, which will be ready by October this year. Payment of 1 billion each also have been made to large manufacturers under our single-digit loan to boost manufacturing output and stimulate growth. I signed the national minimum wage into law last week, and the lowest earning worker will now earn at least 70,000 naira a month. 6 months ago in Kasana, Abuja, I inaugurated the first phase of our ambitious housing initiative, the Renew Hope City and Estate. This project is the first of 6 we have planned across the nation's geopolitical zones. Each of these cities will include a minimum of 1,000 housing units, with Kasana itself set to deliver 3,212 units. In addition to this city project, we are also launching the Renew Hope Estate in every state, each comprising 500 housing units. Our goal is to complete a total of 100,000 housing units over the next 3 years. This initiative is not only about providing homes, but also about creating thousands of jobs across the nation, as well as stimulating economic growth. We are providing incentives to farmers to increase food production at affordable prices. I have directed that tariffs and other import duties should be removed on rice, wheat, maize, sorghum, and drugs, and other pharmaceutical medical supplies for the next 6 months. In the first instance, to help drive down the prices. I have been meeting with our governors and key ministers to accelerate food production. We've distributed fertilizers. Our target is to cultivate more than 10 million hectares of land to grow what we eat. The federal government will provide all necessary incentives for this initiative, whilst the state provide the land, which will put millions of our people to work and further increase food production. In the past few months, we have also ordered mechanized farming equipment, such as tractors and planters, worth billions of naira from the United States, Belarus, and Brazil. I can confirm to you that the equipment is on the way. My dear Nigerians, especially our youths, I have heard you loud and clear. I understand the pain and the frustration that drive this protest, and I want to assure you that our government is committed to listening and addressing the concerns of our citizens. But we must not let violence and destruction tear our nation apart. We must work together to build a brighter future where every Nigerian can live with dignity and prosperity. The task before us is a collective one, and I am leading the charge as your president. A lot of work has gone into stabilizing our economy, and I must stay focused on ensuring that the benefits reached every single Nigerian as we promised. My administration is working very hard to improve and expand our national infrastructure and create more opportunities for our young people. Let nobody misinform and miseducate you about your country or tell you that your government does not care about you. Although there have been many dashed hopes in the past, we are in a new era of renewed hope. We are working hard, and the result will soon be visible and concrete for everyone to see, feel, and enjoy. Let us work together to build a brighter future for ourselves and for generations to come. Let's choose hope over fear, unity over division, and progress over stagnation. The economy is recovering. Please, don't shut out this oxygen. Now that we have been enjoying democratic governance for 25 years, do not let the extremists of enemies of democracy use you to promote an unconstitutional agenda that will set us back on our democratic journey. Forward ever, backward never. In conclusion, security operatives should continue to maintain peace, law, and order in our country, following the necessary Convention on Human Rights, to which Nigeria is a signatory. The safety and security of all Nigerians are paramount. Thank God and thank you for your attention. And may God continue to bless our great nation. Thank you very much.
Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.